Ichigo awakens by Talacha, Chapter 72, Quell Destruction, with Aizen. Ni segunda etapa. Aizen mused, tapping a finger on the arm of his chair as he watched the battle between Ichigo and Grimjaw with his battle force. A second stage released for Rankar. He turned his gaze to the fourth spot, standing off to the side of the throne room. Assume you knew about this since you trained him, am I right? Ulquiorra turned to face his master and bowed his head. I attained that state when I fully embraced my aspect of death a long time ago, the Rankar said as the two clashed. I abandoned everything about myself, or so I think, and became empty, a vessel to serve you, Lord Aizen. I keep quiet about it should I ever need an ace against my opponent, or to completely crush their will to fight. He turned back to watch the fight between Ichigo and Grimjaw. Unfortunately, that no longer seems like an option. You should have shared this information sooner. Baragon grumbled as Stark and Lynette entered the room. The stronger we are, the better our chances in the coming fights. It would have been useful, Harabel said. Though if Ulquiorra is still truly right about how to attain it, then it would make it nearly impossible to be allies or to even fight in some cases. She thought of her own aspect of sacrifice and Baranga's aspect of aging, and some seemed impossible to actually achieve, or should be achieved simply for power. It makes little difference now, Aizen said, rising from his throne. Ulquiorra, you know what you must do. Everyone else, let us be off. When he finished, Tosin opened the Garganta with Karakura town as their destination. Ulquiorra watched as the battalion of 1714 Rankar and three Soul Reapers left through the dimensional portal and leaving him alone. He turned back to watch Ichigo and feeling an uncomfortable tightness in his chest. Ichigo. With the rest of the team, Uryu flexed his hand before rising from where he lay, grunting in pain as his body screamed in protest for the action. He turned to see Chad and Tatsuki in the healing field with him as Candice flew them around the concentration destruction that was Ichigo's fight. Just because the damage was being reversed did not mean they didn't ache. Orihime continued to heal while the Sternritters focused on proceeding towards the building where they fell to the twins Reitsu. How much longer before they're good to fight? Basby asked, watching the healing in progress. I feel 3 more spotters in this place, and a whole lot of them disappearing, Bambita remarked as they felt many Reitsu disappearing. What the hell is happening? Please stop, I need to focus. Orihime Appa shouted as she returned to her task. This requires emotional stability and focus. She thought she was getting better at this, but seeing her friends in such conditions served as a reminder that she's in a war and her friends aren't invincible. Kind of rattled her a bit, but her friends did regain consciousness, and Uryu was the only one still healing. Heads up! Candice called out, directing their focus to a massive skeleton mangrove tree with an army of human skulls, massive figures coming from its branches. What the hell is that thing? I am a rude-born Chelot, a voice called out, bringing their attention to the center of the top of the tree. In it was a man with a bowl-shaped skull with branches wrapped around his body and the lightning bolt-shaped stick in his hand. Like Urunuganga protects the outside, I am tasked with protecting the inside, killing rebellious elements and intruders, he said as the army prepared to fight. Gantenbine and Sirisi jumped off the platform and readied their weapons. Go on, we got this, the Afro Rankar said, moving his mask over his eyes. I already betrayed Lord Aizen by joining you. Might as well go all the way. Sirisi admitted, spinning her disc blade. I'd rather die fighting anyway. Any idea what his power is? Basby asked, refusing to sit out and deciding to stand by his allies. And any of them? I spawn an endless army, Rudborn said as another 10 figures came from his branches. Do they have souls? Candice asked as she and Bambi joined Basby. Orihime created a shield platform from satin cushion while maintaining the healing focus. No, why? The Quincy grinned as they manifested their spirit weapons. No reason, Basby said as the Quincy entered on car, then began walking towards the army. Orihime, Guntenbein called out. That center pillar over there is where they have the girls you're here for. He pointed at the tower that they were heading towards. They'll likely have another spotter guarding them, so get ready for a fight. Cersei said before swinging her weapon and smashing it into the crowd. You better keep your promise, she yelled before Orihime started flying them towards the tower. Ichigo and Grimjaw. The battle was fierce. Grimjaw was operating almost completely on instinct and its call of primal destruction, with Ichigo defending against every strike. The Panther slammed his claws into the hybrid, Ichigo blocking away with his dual blades and sending him flying into the air. The impact smashed Ichigo through buildings and pillars, creating shockwaves that sent the loose sand flying across the desert and turning the shifting grounds into a deep pit as a result. Desgaron, the espada roared as he unleashed a frenzy of swipes, each one creating a set of reishi blades that flew at Ichigo. Some dodged, some blocked a few that cut through his clothes and his skin. 10 blades pushed him back several meters before he broke them and locked eyes with Grimjaw. Just as the espada bit into his lip, he gathered the reishi in front of his mouth, forming a blue sphere of power before unleashing it in a mighty roar. The enhanced zero crossed the distance in an instant, and in that same instant, Ichigo's body moved for him. The smaller Sanketsu blade was generating an aura similar to a Celeste Schneider that rose and cut through the zero. When the blade ended, the cut reishi was absorbed into both Sanketsu's blades, making them glow red and blue as hollow and Quincy blades pulsated with power. I guess I won't reach the point where you don't need to watch my back, Ichigo thought, knowing that his Sanpakuto moved him on instinct, with the blades coming in response. I'm okay with that then. He brought his kyber blades to one of his cuts and gathered some blood onto it, charging it with power. At the same time he did that, Grimjaw appeared with another Grande Zero at the ready. Grande Getsuga Tensho, Ichigo said, swinging his blade as Grimjaw fired his blast. The resulting explosion cracked the walls of Las Noches, blew a massive hole in the domed roof, and shook Hueco Mundo for miles. With Ichigo's friends, Orihime flew them towards the palace at high speeds, panting from the mental exhaustion of maintaining her transport barrier and healing her friends. Uryu was now physically recovered, same with everyone else, but he still felt the after effects of his Volstanding. He doubted he could fight another espada in that condition, but a part of him didn't feel so concerned. Chad seemed to get stronger, and whatever Ichigo was doing, it seemed to be pacifying most of the hollows. They kept riding in silence, heading for the main tower until they noticed something ahead of them. Of course, it can't be easy. Uryu groaned as most of the teens recognized Yami Largo. He was just standing in front of the building, tall and rigid as he waited for his opponents. When he recognized that they saw him, he grinned maliciously and began to charge towards them. Chad rose to his feet and Orihime kept them moving, planned to dodge the charge on the car. Go on ahead, I'll take care of this, the Fullbringer said, jumping off the transport before anyone could say anything. The second his feet touched the ground, he activated his Fullbringer and used the Bringer light to run past his friends and straight to the spot. The two met midway and threw a punch at the other. Chad using La Morte to match the sheer power of the giant Argon car, creating a shockwave of force buying the rest of the teens enough time to fly past them and into the tower. Pretty gutsy of you, human, Yami said with a cocky grin, but I've been waiting for another crack at you. Chad looked at the Rancor and noticed something off. You seem bigger than the last time, the Fullbringer said, trying to remember the last fight. Yeah, I had to hold back when we last met, but now I've been given permission to go all out, he said, placing a hand on his Sanpakuto and releasing his Zuretsu. On top of that, I've been eating and napping and conserving my power for this, though you'll do as an appetizer for that hybrid bastard. I haven't forgotten how he humiliated me for the first time we met. Chad's eyes widened as Yami continued to glow. But you still pissed me off. Enrage ira, he roared, pulling out his Sanpakuto and began to transform. He grew bigger and bigger, the jacket on his back flying off and revealing his 10 tattoo with a disgusting one. What the? Chad gasped as Yami went from a really big humanoid to a gargantuan behemoth, 8 massive elephant-like legs with a giant tail and large club, and massive cylinders on his forearms and back. When he he finished, Chad felt like an ant facing a mountain. "Let me properly introduce myself," Yami said, his voice echoing due to the distance. "I'm Yami Largo, Espada number 0. The Espada raised his fist and brought it down. "Now die." Ichigo versus Grimjaw. He laid there panting in exhaustion, having used up the last of his reishi in an effort to best his opponent. The land around them was scorched black, burning hot from the aftermath of the blast of energy, with the space above them was still distorted. A figure stood above him, darker in his vision from blurry eyes, and the figure shadowed all of his power, all the effort to get stronger, and he still lost. A former version would be furious, but now he was calm, almost happy about getting trounced so thoroughly. "Good enough for you, Grimjaw?" Ichigo asked, only breathing a little heavier as a result of the fight. The fallen panther started chuckling, growing into a barking laughter. "I really can't beat you, can I?" The Rancor finally said, still laughing. "Can anyone really? What the hell are you?" He finally calmed down, pushing himself up to a seated position and coming face to face with Ichigo's outstretched hand. He took it, reverted back to his normal state, and knelt before his new king. "My hand is yours. You command, and I will obey." "Is it going to be like this with every Rancor I turn to my side?" Ichigo asked as Grimjaw rose to his feet. Then he sensed an incoming attack and sidestepped, dodging a bala that came down at him. Ichigo looked up to see a massive gash in the canopy of Wakamundo, with a familiar face staring down at him. "Ukiora," he said, some measure of regret coloring his tone. "You might have killed him, Ichigo," the former Espada told his new leader. "Out of all the Rancor, he's probably the most loyal to Aizen." "Let's test that," Ichigo thought, as he shot up towards the bait. With Uryu, Tatsuki, and Orihime, the trio ran through the halls of the palace, searching for the twins Reiatsu and ready to fight whichever Rancor had them. They felt the fight between Ichigo and his opponents end with a climatic explosion, while Chad seemed to get outmatched when Yami transformed. Even now, as they ran towards the destination, they were debating whether to run back and help their friend. That came to an end when two more female Rancor barred their way. One was slender with black hair and ponytails, and her mask covered her left eye, dressed in a sleeveless shirt that exposed her cleavage and stomach, with a frilly skirt and thigh-high boots. The other was more tomboyish, with blonde hair and her right eye covered by her mask, wearing a short-sleeved shirt and hakama pants. This is the end of the road for you," the black-haired girl said, smirking menacingly at the trio. "Lord Aizen made it clear that he's keeping the girls," said the tomboy as both girls drew their blades. The three friends shared a quick glance, holding a silent conversation on how the fight would go, except Orihime walked ahead of them and stood before the Rancor. "Go on ahead, I'll handle this," she said, pulling out Masamune. Tatsuki was about to protest, but Uryu held up his hand, pointing ahead. Tatsuki reluctantly nodded as the two disappeared on the other side of the Rancor and continued running. "Hey!" the black-haired Rancor yelled out before a barrier blocked her way. She turned to glare at Orihime, who was lowering her arm. "You bitch!" she hissed as she got into a combat stance, holding her dagger at ready. "Pretty gutsy to fight us 2-on-1. The blonde said, holding out her katana. I'm Melanie Malia, Rancor 34, and she's 33. Lolia Vierne." Melanie greeted as Orihime got into the stance that Unohana taught her. "Squad 15, 6th seat, Orihime Inoa." The exorcist returned, "And it's not 2-on-1, she said, as 6 spirits of her Shunshun Rika formed behind her, along with the Joshua forms of the 4 elemental spirits. "It's 12-on-2. With Ichigo, he was back in the internal night of Wakamundo, standing on the top of the domed palace. Standing across from him, his old friend, his current enemy, the last barrier between him and his sisters. He felt everything that was going on beneath him, but his friends trained to get strong, and they could handle themselves. His teacher's words echoed in his mind. What a leader must have, that leader must have as much faith in his allies as they do him. They followed him because they believed that he could conquer Wakamundo, and they separated because he believed that they could survive. Did you know that it would come down to this?" he asked, looking the shorter Rancor in the eye. "I did," Ulquiorra answered, unsheathing his blade. "I think back when we first met, I knew you would become stronger. Lord Aizen gave this task to me when I revealed our past." He pointed his blade at the hybrid. "To kill you, Ichigo Kurosaki. And you're just going to go along with it?" Ichigo asked, not showing any anger or grief, just meeting Ulquiorra with a similar calm. "To kill an old friend?" You're a Soul Reaper, and I'm a Hollow Ichigo. He was saying before Ichigo cut him off. Don't try that line with me, Okiura. You follow Shinigami's orders when you obey Aizen. The hybrid stated, I've got Quincy and Hollow. I've got Quincy and a Hollow to me. It's something that should have been a death sentence in Soul Society, and they plan to make me the future leader of the Gotai, and I will usher in a new era for them. Now, you can try your luck against me, Okiura, but I think we both know how this will end. The two just stared at each other, waiting for the next move. Murcielago, the spotter said, gaining bat wings and a full hem. Resurrección, segunda etapa. He finished losing his coat with his arms, and lower body was covered in a black fur with a hollow hole looking like it was bleeding blackness. Ichigo's response was to unleash both of his Sanpakuto. Bring it! World of the living. It was a normal sunny day in Karakura town. The town was beautiful and quiet, resting completely behind multiple barriers that kept it concealed in the furthest edges of society. In the world of the living, it was a perfect copy of the city, where every captain of the Gotai stood ready with their most able fighters. The veteran warriors only reacted when the Garganta appeared, signaling the arrival of Aizen and his army. 4 holes appeared to let out the army of 17, ready to do battle against the defense force of over twice their number at 35. Is this it, Aizen? Yamamoto asked, looking down on the upstart that began this war. Is this all you bring to battle? Surely this is not what you planned. The smug look on Aizen's face was only marred with a measure of irritation. True, this is not a deal for me. The king of Wakamundo admitted. I'd much rather have several captains trapped in Wakamundo as well. But Ichigo Kurosaki has grown stronger than I had planned for. Are you sure you can beat me without him? He said as he, Jin, and Tosin unsheathed their Sanpakuto. Almost everyone here is affected by my Shikai, and I'm sure you know how strong I am. I give the boy 5 minutes at least before he shows up and kicks your ass, Aizen, Ishin said with a grin, and then I'll just have to kill you all in that time frame. Aizen said his army charged forward. The winter war had begun. With Uryu and Totsuki, the rest of the run was silent, cursing themselves for leaving their friends behind, raging at their current weaknesses. But they persevered, focused on the task of recovering Ichigo's little sisters and the final process of Aizen's army left in the castle. There was one Espada left that was ahead of them, currently much weaker than before. They doubled their efforts and found an open door that had several barriers similar to the soldiers of Rudborn Chialut. They got ready to fight and entered the room to find it filled with more bodies covered in scorch marks, scratches, holes, and blood. The sole exception was a singular door guarded by Exhaustion, Neliel, and Refraction. The Spada met the human's gaze. I was told to take care of the girls, she told them, before falling down. The illustrated guides to Soul Reapers. Where's Rukia? Somari dug the stumps of his arms in the desert sand, ignoring the screaming pain of sand and his body weight pressing into his cauterized wounds and leaving a trail of blood in his wake. He had to reach the medical center and find that damned medica, wondering why there was only ever one doctor in Wakamundo. To make matters worse, she was a favorite toy of Ropo, and who knows what that psycho did to her. He felt elation when he finally saw someone heading towards him. It was the last feeling he knew before he was flash frozen. Rufia standing behind the now dead Arankar. Was I forgotten till the last minute? She thought, feeling very annoyed with a certain author who now felt the need for a new pair of pants. End of chapter 72.